Hello, viewers, and welcome to the latest episode of the Huddle. Tim Pool here, editor of Gambling Insider, and I'm with Andre Carrier, CEO of Eureka Casino Resorts. Andre, thanks for joining me.
Tim, thanks for having me on. Interested to have the conversation.
Yeah, plenty of interesting topics we can ask you about, and I wanted to start off with asking you about the Eureka Casino Resort and the fact that it's 100% employee owned. Can you
Yeah,
talk us through that transition and what it's like to lead a property in that situation?
yeah, sure. I mean, it's the only one of its kind for a casino resort company that's 100% employee owned. And honestly, in the States, there aren't that many employee owned companies. There's only 100% employee owned companies. It's only about 3,000. So it's a unique structure, and our journey there, is kind of over 20 years. This is a family business, and my partner and I, Greg Lee, this is his family office. His family started the company in the 1980s, got into the gaming industry kind of fortuitously, originally with a property just behind the Sahara Hotel on Sahara in Las Vegas called the Eureka. And that led to ultimately the development of another property in Mesquite. And what we were finding is, though we were really blessed to have employees with us for many years, as is common in the hospitality industry, though people were getting closer in age to retirement, they were no more prepared to retire than they had been the day we had hired them. Because finding enough money to be able to participate in a 401k, so you're kind of taking money away from that weekly paycheck that you kind of got every dollar already accounted for, became something that you always said you were going to start to do tomorrow and tomorrow and
Yeah.
weren't doing. And that concerned us because you don't want people to, and we're a family business, so you have close relationships, very personal relationships with people that have worked with you for many years. And we started looking at kind of ways to address that. And in the States, the IRS in the 1970s had created a way to do that, possibly. And that was by selling the company to the employees and beginning to operate the company for their benefit in the form of a long-term retirement plan. And what we liked about it, in addition to the fact that it could affect all of our people, all of our men and women's financial security, we love the alignment that would come from it, the cultural alignment that would come from people actually owning the business they worked with. The hospitality industry, we do have a bit of a problem, right?
Mhm.
Service industry tends to be a place where many people can find a vocation in, but they're not necessarily seeing it as a career. And they don't see it as a career because it's low pay, and it might not offer them mobility as well, the chances to move up. So we saw the alignment that could come from an employee-owned company. Says, okay, now I've answered the long term. You can have a career here because you don't have to come out of pocket to save money. Every year, based on the number of hours you've worked and the wage you've earned, the company is going to give you shares in the business. And the value of those shares, when you retire, you're going to sell those shares back to the company, is going to be based on how well we work together over the course of your career. If we work very well together and we create great customer experiences and we grow the value of the business, when you come to retire, it's going to be worth a great deal and might make the difference in your financial independence. And so we love that alignment. And so there, in a nutshell, the Reader's Digest version, as we'd say in the States, is the origin story of the casino industry's only 100% employee-owned company.
Yeah, it's an especially interesting conversation given just the current backdrop at the moment, obviously, of some strikes in Vegas, and you've got strikes in Detroit and that kind of thing. And through sort of various third parties and awards and things like that, you guys you talk about the alignment, and I think maybe there's a bit of proof in the pudding that can back up what you're saying, because
Yeah,
you're regularly complimented and receive awards on kind of best place to work, that kind of thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I mean, you've probably alluded to it already, but what do you do that's different? Because um,
yeah,
being totally frank, I'd love it if my team told me they were 100% happy at the job, and I'm the best boss in the world, but it's not always like that. What are you guys
No,
getting right?
yeah. I mean, look, there isn't going to be a moment where everybody is happy
Mhm.
um, with the business to the same degree or extent. You're never going to have situations where there aren't people at points of inflection and frustration. What you can control is what's the vision of the organization, what's the purpose of the organization, and what are your values? And we're a core values centric company, which means we are guided almost holistically by our values and our purpose. And our purpose is to prove that people and profits can not only coexist, but that they can thrive. When you look at some of the largest corporations, you'll quickly say that they are absolutely household brands, known the world over for the product they supply and their financial success, but equally known for not necessarily being the employer of choice. Now, I'm not going to step on a third rail and use Walmart as an example, but I think, Walmart is an example of mastering distribution channels, mastering price value indexes, mastering market retail penetration, but not yet mastering cost of living and career path creation, right?
Yeah.
So, where we exist is we're trying to prove that an employee-owned company that pays higher than market average wages, which has lower than market average benefits costs, which has better work organizational culture, meaning coming to work feels good, can also meet or exceed the financial performance of their competitive group of companies. And we do that. And I think that that's important. It's important to be financially successful, both for the ESOP, but because people want to feel like they're part of a winning effort. They're on a winning team. We do good work. We win a lot of games. And that's our purpose in and of itself finds other like-minded people. They say, I want to be a part of that and I want to make a career here. And that is an essential part of the alignment that I spoke of earlier. We're sharing a common purpose. We're sharing common values.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting discussion, and it's nice to have it's a positive discussion. It's nice,
Yeah.
again, talking about kind of people being unhappy and strikes and that kind of thing. And this is a positive interview to be having. To maybe go back a little bit and
Mhm.
maybe explore your career and
Yeah.
how you ended
Yeah.
up in this position,
Sure.
and looking for this kind of alignment. Can you tell us a little bit about your career, because
Yeah.
you've been in a
Yeah.
few different properties and
Yeah.
maybe
Sure.
even
And
household
and and
names.
and look, all of them contributed to, my philosophy and the work that my partner Greg and I do together. All of those experiences contributed to our clarity of purpose. And so, I came to Las Vegas and originally worked with the Loudon family. At the time they owned the Sahara, the Hacienda, the Santa Fe, the Pioneer, the famous River Rick fellow, or Vegas Vic fellow that
Mhm.
that everybody knows so well, the cowboy with the cigarette on the sign. And through that life cycle, I was able to be part of probably the first growth of gaming across the United States. Some of the first Indian compact negotiations, working in Missouri, Mississippi, Illinois, in those early days of riverboat gambling. And so I really was fortunate to see first part of a lot of complicated development projects and also complicated legislative development processes,
Mhm.
and complicated training and onboarding of people, right? Because there weren't table games dealers available in Missouri or in Mississippi when we first got there in the early days, right?
Mhm.
You had to open dealer schools, you had to repair things, and you were moving very quickly and towards this kind of monolithic impact, which was you opened your doors to this just kind of demand that the industry had not seen maybe ever before. And so you learned a lot from that. And then I was really fortunate that Mr. Wynn offered me the opportunity very young in my life to go to work at the Golden Nugget. I think I was 28, 29 years old, and a property head. And, that organization was the genesis of the change in the modern world, Las Vegas, right? Mr. Wynn's vision of what a casino could look like and what the guest experience could be like, and Bobby Baldwin's capability to help fulfill that, right? Just giving you a couple of people on the Mount Rushmore for if listeners don't know those names, Google them. But that you could deliver it was really important. Quality of product, quality of guest experience, and quality of employee experience were pretty central to Mirage. And then I was able and fortunate to get to kind of go through the acquisition at MGM, and kind of Terry Lanny, also, a Mount Rushmore kind of figure from the last 50 years of gambling, and Kirk Kerkorian's, kind of remarkable ability to see what the company could grow into. It was neat to be there. And then I got to work with great entrepreneurs as we sold Golden Nugget to Tim Poster and Tom Breitling originally from him, and then ultimately to Tilman Fertitta. And Tilman Fertitta, I think, is really important to the story of gambling currently, and really important to the story of Las Vegas currently, because he is really one of the remaining individual renegade entrepreneurs who has tremendous vision, and just everyone knows just the tenacity necessary to bring a vision into reality. And has a piece of Las Vegas Boulevard that's going to be really interesting to watch. And it's important for us not just to be corporate in Las Vegas, not just to be financial institution based, but to continue to be tenacious entrepreneur based. And so it'll be fun to watch Tilman do that. So I got to work with a lot of neat people, all of whom, contributed. And I'm grateful for their contribution along the way to what I am now.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's a fair comparison. Tilman, maybe sort of the Elon Musk of gambling. I don't know if that's too accurate, but that kind of.
He's an innovator. He is, I think, the largest restaurant company in America. Like, I think the restaurant business is very difficult to be profitable in, right? We know that because of the number of restaurants that fail. We know that Tilman buys often restaurant companies that are on the brink of failure and resuscitates them. And that's talent, and that's tenacity, and a lot to learn from what he does and the way he does it.
Yeah, that's a nice segue. I want to ask you if you could pick out maybe 3 lessons that you've learned along the way as an executive, and I imagine at least one of them might touch on, you talked about that kind of quality of product and quality of guest experience. But it's hard to sum up a career in sort of 3 lessons. But if you could, what would jump out at you? Probably
it's a great question. Let me try. I would say, and I'm going to credit my dad for this, always see your business through the last 3 feet. If you're not really in touch with what's happening in the last 3 feet of your business, from your guest perspective and from your employee's perspective, you're out of touch. You may have a different role. And so you say, well, that's not my accountability. I have people who are accountable for that. Okay, so how close are you to those people? And what's on their heart and what's on their mind and what are they telling you? And you got to know how your experience in the last 3 feet competes with your competitor's experience in the last 3 feet. And very closely connected to that. If your people don't feel great at work, if they're not having fun at work, how can they be helping your guests have fun? How can they be helping your guests feel great? Because that's the business I'm in. But I don't do neurosurgery. I don't sell lasers. I sell an experience that is absolutely unnecessary. Okay. It is, however, fun. If I'm doing a great job, I'm a backdrop for great memories about great times with people you like, and some maybe along the way that you didn't like, but you had a good time anyways. Okay. That's, if I'm doing a good job, that's what I do. And if my people who are face to face with the gas in the last 3 feet don't have a great time, and I'm not saying they're hard days, this is hard work. Our industry is hard work. But if they don't feel excited and motivated on those busy days that they know are going to be hard, that it's going to be rewarding, and we're all going to succeed together, the guests, I don't have a snowball's chance in hell of having that customer have a great experience. That's one. Two, you got to know, life in business life is ups and downs, highs and lows. And don't get too full of yourself when things are going great and think you're master of the universe. And don't get too down on yourself when you get dealt some heavy blows. I mean, if you had asked me, I would ever have to figure out how to put locks on a casino doors because we were going to be closed. We were just closing. I had a lot of plans. I had no plan, Tim, for zero revenue. Right? And like nobody had a zero revenue plan.
Yeah.
Don't get too low. The first and last role of a leader is to keep hope alive. If you don't have that ability for your folks, then you're not prepared to lead. You can't look at the darkest hour and say, I can see the light. You're not prepared to lead. You can't get too low. And you got to keep your head up high and remember who you are and remember what you're doing it for. That's probably two. And the next is, give it to my dad again. To be a leader, you must first be a servant and serve those people who permit you the opportunity to lead. I mean, if you're not coming to work every day, understanding who you serve, and that it's not a mandate from God or anyone else other than them. I mean, look what's happening with the AI company right now, right? You got a founder. We're going to keep names out and make it look like it's fictitious, okay? But you have a founder, creator, leader, CEO who gets ousted by the board, and as we talk today, his employees have put together a petition telling every board member to resign, or they're going to all quit. Like some 760 employees. If your people support you and you work hard together with them, and I say with, not for, if you work together with them, and they support you, you can achieve great things together. If you lack alignment, you just can't.
Yeah, beautifully put, I have to say. And even as I listen, I think how I can try and apply those lessons on a daily.
Yeah.
I mean, links to the next question. A bit more about you as an individual and an executive. You serve on a number of boards as well. Sort of outside of gaming too. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, probably the experience I go back to are the ones that you can do great work. We obviously work at UNLV is very important to us in Nevada. Greg, my partner, his family endowed the business school at UNLV, and it's really important. It's essential, in fact, for Las Vegas to have a great hospitality school and a great business school. Right? This is a world. This is a land of innovative renegade entrepreneurs, and you have to be able to provide the education for them to find themselves, and then you have to be able to feed the businesses that they run. And so the work that we do there is just foundationally important. It's also great because UNLV is an institution that has, has some of the most first-time college graduates or attendees in the country. So you're breaking the cycle and allowing people a path road to higher education, and that's why I love the work that I do at UNLV. And kind of a really related vein, I love the work that I've done at Boys and Girls Club, particularly in what was called the Keystone program, the older teens, because I think it's a time in your life, that I don't know if you remember this, but you get to a moment in your life like, what am I going to do with my life? What is my life's work? What is my purpose? And interestingly, yeah, right. Yeah, interestingly, you start thinking about that kind of between 15 and 18. You're like, oh, am I going to college? Am I not going to college? If I'm going to college, what am I studying? If I'm not going to college, what am I going to do? Right. I love being with kids at that moment of their life to explore their possibilities, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times what they can see is these are all the barriers that I have to overcome to have purpose. And I love being present to kind of knock down some of those barriers and just talk about possibilities. And so, yeah, I love the work that I've done with Boys and Girls Club, um, and you know, the other thing I'd say is I'm really passionate about the work we do with mental health. You know, at least in the United States, we have an epidemic um, around suicide. You know, certainly in our military community, returning veterans, and certainly among our young adults. That's sobering.
Mm.
It's sobering that young people with so much potential and so much hope, as we would see it, don't have it and are choosing instead to take their own lives. And so we have funded mental health care providers in elementary schools and in high schools in our school districts. And finally, probably I'd say read by three. Reading at a third grade level by the third grade. Um, oof,
Mm.
it's maybe the it, Tim. It may be the it because do you know what grade a child in the United States decide they're going to drop out of high school? I mean, you can give your equivalency exams, like what? So, and yet you decide you're going to drop out of high school in the sixth grade. By the sixth grade, so a sixth grader in the United States is right around a pre-teener to a teenager, um, and they have already made the decision they're not a student. They're not very
Mm.
good at this. It doesn't feel good. It's not a place I feel rewarded. So I will not continue. And so I think the work we do to get all students in our school districts and where our business is operating, reading at a third grade level by a third grade is just another thing I really get excited about.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely, because that's yeah, the knock-on effect later on in life. It's
Yeah, if you
unbelievable, I guess.
can't read, you could be the greatest mathematician in the world, and the first word problem somebody shows you, you just can't sort it out, right? And so um, it's purposeful.
Absolutely. Um, so if we had to go back to your properties and back to Eureka, can you talk us through
Mm.
the recent renovations you've undergone? Because you've done some work at the property.
Yeah. You know, I think we were talking earlier about in the end, it is about the quality of your service and quality of the product and your ability to differentiate yourself that really leads to your success over the long term. And so for that, one of our core values is continual improvement. And so when you have these big, expansive resort casinos, you're able to continually find parts of the business where you can improve. And rooms are always a great place to improve, particularly when you're a destination resort property like Mesquite is. Um, Particularly, golfers that are our core customers for much of the season, they come year after year. So you like to give them something just a little bit new, where that's improvements at the pool or improvements in the common areas, but improvements in the restaurants as well. We're currently in the middle of expanding and remodeling our Gregory Steakhouse. Recently, we did a new sports book environment for them with William Hill. And then we built for our core customer, it's interesting, we celebrate a lot together with our core customer, whether it's holidays like this or anniversary dates of the business. And so we built a new grand ballroom, which we had not done since our opening. And it's kind of a funny amenity to redo, but it's had a sensational reaction. And it makes everything we do together kind of more special. And so those are the improvements in the Eureka. Now, the Eureka will continue to go through fairly substantial and ongoing improvements over the course of the next 5 to 8 years. There'll be a really steady drumbeat of improvements at that property because it's just time. for reinvention and for relaunch. And I think when you have been fortunate enough to have customers for as long as we have, it's exciting to want to bring them something new when they come in. So they're going to get a lot of new from us over the next several years.
Yeah. I wanted to sit with a straight face, ask if you had any eureka moments, but I don't think I can do that with a straight face. There's a pun there. But
the answer to that question is all the time. I mean,
yeah.
right? If you're doing things right in life, I mean, you're having eureka moments all the time where, you do not know what you do not know sometimes, right? And then others are things you learn about yourself along the way. And so we do talk about those moments, and I like to think I have plenty of them. I'm a work in progress, Tim. I'm a work in progress.
You mentioned the restaurants, that food and beverages.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say a growing part like it was never a big part of it. It's always going to be a big part of the property.
Yeah.
But how important is it? Has it become more important over the years? Because even just an example, let's say downtown Vegas has got the Prada. They've got the Circa right next to them. How do they get people from the Circus across the street? They've got a donut shop right at the front. That's just it's like it's subtle, but it works.
Yeah. Yeah. So food and beverages, plays a couple roles in the resort casino business. And I use the Brook as an example because it's a good one. Historically, that business was a pari-mutuel location. And when you talk to people about the old days of racing, they will talk to you about the clubhouse environment, like this kind of really nice sit-down place that you'd have a king's cut of prime rib and a beef Wellington, and they kind of talk about the heydays of those experiences. And of course, what those were inducements and rebates, right? It was an incentive to come in, and it was a rebate on your play. I still think restaurants play that role in the casino business. What we've also become, though, is just a place that can afford to build restaurants at a certain size, scale, and quality that would be difficult to monetize elsewhere. Right. I think that's what the modern Las Vegas is to a good degree. The restaurant business historically is a low margin business. So being able to have spectacularly built restaurants with very high finish level is a pretty risky venture when you're talking about an industry that really where 7% to 12% margins might be what's normalized. So we're able to build things that are really difficult to build without the subsidy of the foot traffic from the casino, without the subsidy of the foot traffic from the hotel. And for us, we build spaces that really speak to our customers. New Hampshire now, we have the largest Victory Kitchen's the largest sports bar in the region. It's almost in totality, it's probably a 30,000 square foot environment. And it's safe to say that the Boston area is fairly sports centric. We are fans, super fans, maybe arguably too much. And so being able to be a great place to watch games is pretty important. Being a great place to watch a game and eat food and drink with friends is kind of essential. So we have that indoor, outdoor viewing environment, built a massive outdoor screen and a deck that sits 150 people, so when you get a great weather day and you still want to watch a game, you can sit outside. I got an atrium seating, a tiered stadium style seating environment on the inside. We built new restaurants, which are 3-meal restaurants, right? We need to take care of people all the time in Lucky's, and food quality matters, and specialty service experience and drinks matter. And then we're in the process of building another restaurant at the Brook right now, which is a collaboration with a kind of a New England restaurant legend. And so we'll announce that sometime in the spring, and that'll kind of be at a different level, more of a reward restaurant for our customer, and a new amenity they're going to love to see. Food's really important. Food events are important, and you're getting it right. And it's central to a good destination experience.
To your earlier point, I don't think you can ever have too much sport or too much time. So I think you think you're fine on that front. But also, we definitely want to talk to you more about the Brook. But one more sort of topic with the Eureka. Obviously you mentioned the golf angle. I mean, I was going to ask what type of customer you're going for, but I think that's going to be quite a big market for you there from what you said. Are there any kind of challenges of being so? Obviously, when you think of Nevada, you think of let's say a strip downtown. With all due respect, I think you probably understand what I mean. You wouldn't necessarily think of Mesquite straight away. Does that present any
Sure.
challenges,
Yeah.
or is it in fact that gives you maybe carves out the niche of player that you want does it for you? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's an entirely different market. We're an entirely different business. I mean, I've competed in the Las Vegas market, right? In years with Golden Nugget and Mirage and MGM Mirage. And Mesquite is not that. Mesquite is a drive-in destination. It's really important to America's Mountain West, right? Because if you look at it this way, if you live in a place like Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Utah, North Dakota, South Dakota, Idaho, right? And you got a car and you start driving south in February, what are you looking for? Someplace warmer, right? And that's kind of where Mesquite, right there between St. George, Utah, and Mesquite, Nevada, things start getting different for you. And you might not need a jacket. And that is the purpose we have filled as a destination for a long time. And then we kind of wrapped around it, arguably the best collection of desert golf courses in the world. 7 courses within 3 miles. That is almost impossible to replicate anywhere else. And it's not that there aren't good golf courses in Tucson and Phoenix, in Scottsdale and in Las Vegas. It's that you have to drive a lot to get to all of them. And in Mesquite, you really, from your hotel room to any one of the Mesquite golf courses, is probably not more than 10 minutes. And so if you really love the game and you're there to play, I think we deliver an experience that's better than anywhere in the country. So we serve that purpose. We also serve kind of that I want a winter someplace warmer experience. And I think we do a great job of it. Mesquite really is a highly manicured, a highly master planned resort city. And your quality of life in your second home in Mesquite has always been high. Frankly, it's getting a lot higher. We're in close proximity to St. George and generally the national park area of Zion and Bryce. It's a beautiful place. And really that's the Mesquite experience. People drive up from Las Vegas to get out of Las Vegas and kind of get to a different elevation and get to a different ecosystem. And look, I think we do that well. Over the next decade, we're going to continue to do it a lot better, is differentiate the Mesquite experience.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, you also got the Brook, billed as the largest charity casino in the US. And in fact, at quite a basic level, I wanted to ask you to sort of walk us through the charity casino model.
Yeah. Frankly, it's what got us, the charity casino model that exists in New Hampshire is what has got us so excited about the opportunity there. I'm from that neck of the woods, as is my partner. And so the opportunity to go home and do something wonderful, of course, is always attractive at any point in your career. And this gave us, the Brook really presented that because New Hampshire, 35% of every dollar, 35 cents on every dollar wagered on table games goes to a specific charity every day. And now we're making so much money, it actually goes to 2.
Sure.
And then on the historical horse racing level, the contribution is made as well. And that system took what is the most difficult part of being in providing a 501c3, a social cause organization, so an organization that's there for social good. In the United States, like, big brothers, big sisters, or angel flight. I mean, I'm thinking things that might resonate with you as well. Or we have a program in the United States where, you just drive meals to seniors who are homebound. So called Meals on Wheels. I mean, these are essential services. Okay. Fundraising is the hardest part of doing all that. And we've made it really efficient, where in about a 7-day period now, charities can make between $100,000 and $130,000 with us. And if that doesn't motivate you to continue to drive the top line, I don't know what does. But what's beautiful in our organization is we were already driven to do that because we're 100% employee owned, and we wanted to drive the value of people's retirements. So now we wake up every morning and we want to drive the value of people's retirement, and we want to drive incremental contributions to Angel Flight, an organization that when you absolutely positively have to get to Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida, and you live in Hampton, New Hampshire, and that flight would frankly break the budget for you, and it's not covered by insurance. This is an organization and a team of people that will get you there. That feels pretty good to know when the work you're doing is going to fund that. And so what got us excited about doing this is we said, what if the largest charity casino in America was 100% employee owned? What about that flywheel? And now it's true. And that is a purpose-filled business.
Yeah. And as you said, you've got those two differentiating points. But as you said earlier, you're trying to prove that in terms of financial performance, you can still compete with the regular model.
That's right. That's right. You have to be able to do both. Yeah.
Can you walk us through? There's been sort of in terms of the details, you can walk me through the details, but there's certainly been recent announcements about kind of the totals you've raised and donated since, I think it's 2019 as a key date. Can you tell us about the kind of numbers that you've donated and where this kind of has come from and gone to?
Yeah, so we're on track to be well over $8 million from our start. So it's real money now, and the individual contributions, as I said, are really differentiating for the organizations that are receiving them. Because a lot of organizations that are running well, the way their metrics work is each service that they provide costs $1,000 about, or $1,000 to $2,000. So if their total budget is $10,000, they can help 10 people. But if the budget is now $100,000, they can help 100 people. So you're growing in your impact geometrically, and it's happening statewide. And then what we look to do is, where are the gaps in needs in the markets we provide on, as far as services to our employees, employee owners, and services to our guests, that when you look at the fabric of the social safety net, so to speak, that 501c3 and charitable organizations are providing, where are there still gaps? And that's where we go to work as well, to create programs and bring talent to solving those problems. And I've mentioned some of those before: Read by 3 and mental health care counseling, and we're continually looking for the places where there aren't organizations today in sufficient quantity to address urgent needs.
In these interviews, I usually like to end looking ahead. And a final question from me. I think we could maybe divide it up to you. Really, we could divide it into the Eureka and the Brook. And you've mentioned a lot already on what you're looking to do and things that are currently in progress. And one or two things that you maybe can't announce yet, but is in the pipeline. But as we speak here, kind of towards the end of 2023, looking ahead to 2024 and beyond, what are your kind of goals and targets? The ones at the top of the list, because we've discussed a few already. And if you want, feel free to divide them for both properties.
Yeah. Well, I'll actually answer in a slightly. So one of the mantras, it's actually on a brass plaque as you walk out onto the casino floor. Our prayer, so to speak, is good, better, best, never let it rest till our good is better and our better is best. When we think about what we're trying to do, it's how do we get better? Some companies think about how do you get bigger? And I'm not saying that bigger isn't necessarily a derivative of better, but better comes first. And so if the way you get better is to build a bigger mousetrap or build a bigger service platform, well, I guess they're one and the same. So we tend to look at our product and say, where do we need to get better? And try to have better experiences for our guests. And sometimes that's taking something that's just tired and reinventing it. And so what you'll see at the Eureka over the course of the next 5 years is it will be made better from tip to tail, every last part. And what you'll see at the Brook, where it's still kind of finding its persona, is we're going to take some guesses on what our guest wants from us, and in the way of better. But the piece about our growth that I'd say I'm not addressing is we are a 100% employee-owned service organization. Today, we operate in hotels, restaurants, and casinos. It would be very unlikely to me if over the next 10 years, those are the only services our organization provides. We'll continue to diversify this company for the benefit of the employee owners. We'll continue to use our vision, our ideology, and our talents to reach other parts of the service economy. We will not stay constricted and confined to this lane. People need to be able to live a life without fear and with less fear. And finance plays a major role in that. Housing plays a major role in that. And we are in a portion of the economy where people are still living with quite a bit of fear, paycheck to paycheck, and fear about what could happen in their life that they don't feel they have the financial security to be prepared for. That's why the Eureka Way exists. It's to go and find those parts of the economy, find those industries where we can make a meaningful difference for the men and women who work in it. And I think that's what you'll continue to see. When you talk to me, Tim, 5 years from now, you'll say, Andre, tell me about the different businesses and industries you're now in, applying the employee ownership model, applying your mission of showing that people and profits cannot just coexist, but they can thrive.
Well, Andre, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And certainly, I think the topics we covered today, they're not in every gambling industry interview. A little bit different and some very positive messages. So thanks again for joining us.
Thanks so much, Tim, for having me on. I appreciate it. All the best.
Thank you. And to you too.